All right, good morning. So if you missed us 2 of the last 3 weeks, that was because most of the directors were up in Sacramento, and then a handful of us went back to Washington, D.C. So this is our opportunity to update you and you to ask us questions of what's been going on and try and bring you up to speed. So we're going to make presentations, and I'm going to start with Ian Berg, who attended NAR and represented us at the global meetings. So let's welcome you.
Thank you, Lee. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
At NAR, I am a member of Global Business and Alliances Committee, which anticipates, analyzes, and develops policy on global issues to develop mechanisms to serve the specialized needs of members globally, to position NAR globally as the most influential and authoritative representative of the United States in real estate business and profession, and to provide members with recognizable credentials and exposure within the global arena to open up new real estate markets for NAR, affiliates, and realtor products and services, and to espouse private property rights, free enterprise, and home ownership in international, public, and private forums. And I'm also chair of the Global Alliances Advisory Board, which provides guidance on the operation of NAR's Global Network Program. So at these meetings, we had presentations on various subjects related to global issues. And there was an update from NAR research staff, Scholastica Coraton, who shared statistics on market data, commercial, international, home buying and selling, latest trends, and technology. For more information on these reports, you may log on to www.nar.realtor/global, because this site has lots of research materials at your disposal. And NAR has 100 bilateral partners in 85 countries in the world. Many of these countries do not have MLS systems due to many reasons. For example, they don't have exclusive agency to sell contracts, and they don't cooperate with buyer's agent, etc. So we invited Art Carter, the CEO of C.A.R. MLS, who gave us an overview of why MLS works in North America, which in turn showed us why it doesn't work in other countries. And he provided us with helpful understanding of the basic requirements for a successful MLS. NAR has 22 global ambassadors who are appointed by the NAR president to serve as liaisons to cooperating associations we have bilateral agreements with. And as I said earlier, we have 100 bilateral partners. So overseeing the global ambassadors are 5 global coordinators, and they are in charge of 5 different regions around the world. That's number 1, North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. And the second region is South America. Third region, Asia and Pacific. Fourth region, Western Europe. Fifth region, Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Each global coordinator serves in one of these regions, and he or she oversees all global ambassadors and ambassador associations in the region. And by the way, our association, West San Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors, is the ambassador association to Taiwan. We also heard from these 5 global coordinators in a panel discussion on how each region deals with technological differences and language barriers, if any. And NAR Global is also working on a member benefit with RESAS, which is a platform that allows listing uploads, domestic and international referrals, and which also has a social media element to it. And I'll keep you posted when the negotiation for this platform is finalized. NAR is the strategic partner at the 2019 International Real Estate Conference that will be held on September 2nd through the 4th in Tokyo, Japan. If you're interested in attending the conference, I have the details here, or you may log on to www.irec2019.realtor. And Jamaica is also going to have an International Realtor Conference in Jamaica in December. So more details will be coming up later. And again, for more information about the NAR Global Program, international resources, research, and statistics, please go to www.nar.realtor/global. This concludes my report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Yin. And next we'll hear from Helen Chen Marston, and she'll update us on both C.A.R. and NAR.
This year, I serve as the Vice Chair of Global Real Estate Forum at the C.A.R. And then in Sacramento, we held a forum. The purpose is to teach, promote the Global Business Council to all the local associations. We always call it globalization. And our WSGVAR Board, we have a very strong Global Business Council. We have been active in many years. We signed MOUs with a lot of other countries, other associations. But there are a lot of associations in California don't have GBC, and they even don't know what GBC means. And then, so that there's no global business in their local association. So we have a panel to teach how to start GBC, how to operate. And fortunately, Lynn actually, on behalf of our GBC, sitting in one of those panels. And we also have another panel for the agents who are doing a lot of global business. And they are there to share their experiences and their techniques and the ways how to do global. And I also, this year, serve NAR CIPS Advisory Board. CIPS stands for Certified International Property Specialists. These provide you a platform for the education and networking, but doesn't give you the authority to do the international business in other countries. Unfortunately, we have agents listed the properties in other countries. We all know that even you held your California license, but you cannot do business in other state if you don't have their real estate license. So how come you think you are authorized to list properties in other country? So you don't know their licensing law, you don't know the tax regulation, and then ended up that may be involved with the money fraud, tax fraud, and it might hurt the local economics. So it is a serious problem. So we usually teach people what to do, what should do, but this year we focus on what you shouldn't do. So if you have clients own properties in other country, you consult with your local Global Business Council first, and you can looking for the help from C.A.R. level or NAR level. And I think the best way is to start, if you are not CIPS designee yet, then take the courses, get a CIPS, and then get in the international business referral system. Then you can do the referral business and get paid legally appropriately. And then our local association will have CIPS courses this year between August 19 to 25th. And then we also will bring all the attendees to new construction sites, to the high-rise real estate, like downtown areas. So we'll be very unique, and then we welcome to all of you to join our course. And then remember, we also have in NAR level, we still continuously working to provide the better platform. So keep in tune and then check out CIPS online. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. And now we'll hear from Susie Dunkel-Soto, who's going to update us on some of the issues that we were focusing on while we were back in DC.
Good morning, everybody. For C.A.R., I was the chair for the Association President's Leadership Forum, where I addressed 110 local presidents, like Giuseppe and our past presidents and future up here. I was the regional rep for our region, 16 on the legislative committee. I'm the NAR rep on the local government committee, for the local government forum, and I'm a member of the federal committee. At the NAR level, I am the region rep, and we're in Region 13, which includes California, Hawaii, and Guam. And I'm the region rep on state and local policy issues. At state level, for C.A.R., there's quite a bit through the legislative committee. And what goes on, many of the committees, whether it's taxation and government, regulatory, land use, they all kind of address the same issue, but sometimes that's not always the same outcome. So in legislative and federal, we kind of get a recap of what everyone else has gone through, and that if there's any additional discussion on those items. So fortunately, by the time it gets to us, there's only a couple that might have some heated debate, as they've already gone through. I'm going to touch on some of the bills. Well, actually, so in local government, just to kind of keep everyone aware, first, I encourage all realtors to get involved in local politics. So there's programs at the state and national level, and just to help, because these issues that do affect to have us as, this is our day in, day in work, day in, day out, excuse me, that we're kind of we're the experts when we're speaking on these issues. So that would really help in forwarding our industry as well. Also, we talked about rent control, and that also was discussed at the national level in state and local policies. A big one, if you guys aren't familiar with, Glendale has passed a citywide rent control, with 67% of the city are renters. There's a lot of details on that, and Lee's probably the expert on that as well. We talked in depth about Oregon is now a rent control state. I mention these because now that we have more cities and states that are kind of stepping in, there's a strong chance that California will follow that, will be following suit on that. So Oregon has a 7% cap right now, which sounds okay since most of our rent control right now is at a 3%, but it's just a matter of time before that goes to a 5% to a 3% cap. And so, let me see what I have on that. And as we talk on rent control or just issues that are tenant-based, in New York, they have a lead-based test on every tenant change. So you think that once you have a tenant's moved out, you've done a lead-based test, it's finished, you have the certificate, it has to be completed each time. Similar to like, I guess, a pre-inspection where they're just looking for some additional revenue. I'll go through some of the bills that C.A.R. is either opposing, sponsoring, or co-sponsoring that affect us. I have like 4 pages of bills that we discussed, so I'll spare you all of them. Okay, on that one. So through investment housing, what they discussed was adopting and oppose unless amended. So oftentimes a bill will come to, is put together, and we have strong input on getting legislators to amend the bill to kind of a happy medium for everybody. So we are opposed unless amended position on AB 1482 by 2, which places a statewide cap on the amount that a rental property owner may annually increase the rent. Also, we are opposing unless amended AB 1481 and AB 1697, which prohibits a rental property owner from terminating a lease without just cause. Also opposing unless amended AB 38, which modifies the Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act. If you recall, last year, Prop 10, we fought to have a new change to the Costa-Hawkins Act. So it looks like they're still finding ways to try and make some amendments on that. That we support SB 521, which establishes a tax credit for rental property owners for dwellings or units that are rented or leased to persons receiving assistance under Section 8. In conjunction with NAR, this is where some of the issues cross between NAR and C.A.R. That C.A.R. in conjunction with NAR opposed the new 14-day inspection period for HUD on Section 8 housing. In land use, we talked a lot about different bills that are going in place that are affecting areas that have had disasters between flood and fire. So there's a lot of discussion on that in some of the bills that are coming forward. There's also, we are in support of AB 1674 and AB 1318. Both of these which expand the definition of a school facility to allow the use of school bond funds to construct on-site housing. So currently when there's funds that are put together for a facility, can be deemed a gym or cafeteria or something, we're looking to increase school fund bonds to include housing for teachers, faculty, whether that's at university levels or at the school level. But another way to increase housing, whether it's on the campuses or supporting us in housing, which we support, is the workforce housing for including teachers and affordable housing. This was an interesting one. Out of transaction and regulatory, that C.A.R. support if amended. AB 1339, which involves a mechanics lien priority if the bill disallows a subcontractor from filing a mechanics lien when the general contractor has been paid. If there's a work on your house, anyone can pretty much put a mechanics lien on your property. What this would do would, if you had paid the contractor, the general contractor, the subcontractor, if they had not been paid, cannot put a lien on your property if you paid it. Well, right now they can. It is a big one, yes. That C.A.R. support NAR's mortgage finance reform proposal. And this is actually presented to Congress by Vince Malta, our NAR 2020 president. This is for a vision for enduring housing finance reform proposal for Fannie and Freddie. So it's nice that we are often at the table, not on the table, for issues that affect our industry. here's, that C.A.R. in conjunction with NAR support FHA loans with debt to income above 43%, with credit scores below 620 being manually underwritten. There was a lot of discussion on that, but it was given the opportunity if it's manually underwritten and allowing for additional loans to come through. But there was a lot of discussion in supporting that from all the realtors. There was so much that went on. I have like 20 pages of notes. So if you want to join for coffee, we can sit down and talk and go through them. But we got to end the meeting, so thank you.
All right, Susie, I'll call you out for coffee. Okay, next we're going to hear from Nick Baldry, our president-elect, who really represented us well and has been extremely involved with both C.A.R. and NAR, and he'll continue the update on the federal issues.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I realize this morning I'm the only non-member of the Past Presidents Club presenting to you just now. I'm going to give you an update on the meetings. So when we go to our spring meetings, we meet with our local legislators. Both in California, we met, I've just promoted him, Assembly Member Ed Chow. And when we were in DC, we met Congresswoman Judy Chu as well. So I'm just going to go through the issues that we touched on with those legislators. Of course, as Susie said, she has 20 pages of notes. We can't go through every single hot issue that is important to C.A.R. and NAR, so we have a select few that we asked them to put their focus on. When we met with Judy Chu, one of the major ones was reissuing flood insurance. If you have a sense of deja vu, so do I. We spoke about that with her last year, and that's been a topic for the last few years as well. As I'm sure you're very, very well aware, Congress keeps reissuing flood insurance for very, very short periods of time. Currently there is a bill out at the moment, it's actually passed the House twice, that would extend flood insurance for 4 months. So we could be back exactly where we are right now in about September, October time, but it's better than nothing. So we've asked her for her support to make sure that that passes. But we also made sure we impressed upon her that we need long-term flood insurance rather than going through this same song and dance every 4, 6 months, however long they choose to reinstate that. And it expires on May 31st, so we're really running out of time in Congress for them to do that. So that one was a really pressing issue for us. And how many of you have heard about opportunity zones? A small handful of you. So the really quick potted history. They were actually part of the tax reform law that went through a couple of years ago. It creates 87,000 zones across the country in disadvantaged areas. And what it does is it provides some pretty serious tax incentives for you to bring 1031 exchange funds into investing within those zones. Now the IRS gave some rulings on how that was going to work in a kind of relatively basic way a few months ago, but they haven't put out the detailed rules yet. Now these opportunity zones, they have an expiry date in about 7 years, and some of the major tax benefits you get come from having held property in those zones for about 7 years. So what we've been asking the Congresswoman to do is help us push the IRS to put out those detailed rules, because I don't know about you, but if I want to invest my money in something, I want to know how that's going to work. And if the IRS hasn't brought out those detailed rules, investors aren't going to put their money in until they really know how that program is going to work for them and how they will or won't benefit from it. The last thing that we spoke to the Congresswoman about was fair housing. Obviously we have the Fair Housing Act, but one thing that does not cover is sexual orientation and gender identity. Now, in California, we're a little ahead of the game. Ourselves and I think another 21 states do have fair housing laws that do prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, but we don't have a federal law that covers that. The bill that was in the House when we spoke to the Congresswoman, that was a relatively easy conversation because she's actually a co-sponsor of that bill. It's really nice to not just be asking your legislators for something, but to be able to turn to them and say, thank you for being a big part of supporting something that we support. That actually went to the floor in the House on Friday, so that was the day after we spoke to the Congresswoman. It did pass the House. All Democrats voted for it, and actually 8 Republicans came across the aisle and voted for it as well. So of course it's got to go into the Senate, and I'm sure you're very well aware we have a divided Congress, so we don't know whether it will necessarily pass the Senate, but the fact that some Republicans have come across the floor in the House means that there is some hope for that making it through. And now as I switch notes, when we met with Ed Chow, we also had 3 issues. The first one, the C.A.R. is sponsoring AB 1590, that's from Blanca Rubio. This would, it's designed to help first-time home buyers. It's a home buyer tax credit for disadvantaged communities. So this would provide a tax credit to home buyers who are buying their first property, and they have to meet certain income restrictions as well, related to the area median income. Again, we know how tight of a housing market we're functioning in. We know people are really, really struggling to get on the housing ladder. The fact that this would help first-time home buyers make that first step can only really be a good thing in helping California not become a majority renter state, which we are getting closer and closer to doing. We also asked for the Assembly member, I keep promoting him, we also asked for the Assembly members' support on SB 50. Now that is a housing development incentive. It basically provides incentives for transit-oriented development, so increased density in areas where there are some strong transit hubs. That one I have a little bit of bad news for you on. It didn't make it out of committee, which is essentially the legislature's way of killing it without letting it get to a vote. The good news is it's going to become a 2-year bill, so it will come back in 2020, and we will be, but the Assembly member, is aware that this is a really important issue to us, so if it comes to his desk and to his chamber, we will hopefully have his support. The last thing, we did ask for an oppose, and that oppose is on SB 329. SB 329 basically redefines some language around, as you know, when you have a tenant apply to rent a unit, we can't discriminate in terms of the source of income. SB 329 would change those rules so Section 8 would be pulled into that source of income. So in essence, what it means is it forces landlords to participate in the Section 8 program, which thank you. You guys get it. We had to explain it to our legislators. So that would mean that we would have to go through administrative hoops and loops. We would have to go through all sorts of inspection issues as well that basically delay starting the tenancy. And don't get me wrong, Section 8 is a grand program. And to be honest, with the proper funding and the program fixed, it could really function very well. But forcing landlords to participate in a voluntary program really isn't the answer. Section 8 needs to function properly. We don't need to force landlords into a program that isn't working at the moment. Now, SB 329 is really critical at the moment. How many of you got the red alert a couple of days ago? And you've called your senator?
Yes.
Okay, for the rest of you, this piece of legislation is going to the Senate floor most likely today. There was a chance it was going to be on the slate yesterday. It didn't make it on. So there's a very strong possibility it's going to be voted on today. We still need people to call. I have my laptop. If you haven't called yet, come and see me afterwards. I will get you all the information you need to make contact with your senator. I've spoken to our C.A.R. field rep. I'm guessing the majority of us in the room, Susan Rubio is our senator. She is on the fence on this. She could be swayed either way, so we need a volume of calls. I think when I spoke to Julie Tran, she said we had 35 calls in. They're asking for a target of 50. They think that would be enough of a realtor voice to help push her to vote to oppose this piece of legislation. So again, please, 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 if you haven't made that call, see me after. I'll get all the information you need to make that call. And if you have clients who wouldn't like this, again, come and see me and I'll give you the information you need to make sure that they can contact their senators as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Nick. You can tell he's really on top of it. And yeah, let's get another 15 phone calls into Senator Susan Rubio's office. That'll really help. Okay, I just thought, since we have a minute maybe, that I would kind of give you the 30,000 foot view. Still a housing shortage. It's still a seller's market, but the market tends to be changing. This was kind of the vibe we were getting at C.A.R. and NAR. There's a lot of push for more housing. Gavin Newsom came and spoke to us and talked about the need for more housing. The biggest hurdle, we're dealing with a regional problem, but the hurdles tend to be more local. And there's a lot of NIMBYism, and NIMBYs are the not in my backyard, if you're familiar with that term. And so there's going to be a big push on the local level to try and remedy some of these things. Try to get some of these projects through and try and increase the housing supply. ADUs are also going to come into play. We're all pretty familiar with ADUs now. The state's mandated that cities allow ADUs, and so we're going to see more and more of those. Basically, it turns an R1 neighborhood into an R2 neighborhood, so that you can add a unit in the back, you can convert a garage, you can convert a guest house, anything along those lines. Susie mentioned rent control. We're seeing a big push on rent control because as housing costs escalate, so are the rents. And it's really pretty phenomenal increase in rents that we've seen lately. So there's the pushback on that front as well. What Oregon did was Oregon capped it at 7%. And everybody says, well, 7% is not bad, we can live with that. But the problem is that they take it to a vote and they allow a rent control cap of 7%, but then without a public vote, they could come back in and they could say, well, 7's not right working, so we're going to make it 3%. That's, which is where LA is. And they could do that, in the dark of the night, and the next morning you wake up and all of a sudden, whoa, that's not what we signed up for. That's not what you promised. We thought we had a compromise, but. The other thing is Joel Singer did a good presentation at his economic luncheon, and he was pretty encouraging. Thinks things are going to keep going. He's the CEO for C.A.R. For those who don't know. And then I was going to expand on that, but I could see we're up against the clock here. But I will end on this. And we have two really good opportunities coming up. In October is going to be the C.A.R. Expo, and it's right here in our backyard. It's in Los Angeles. So I hope that everybody will get on the association bus and go down there. And I also want you to consider buying a luncheon ticket, because if you can hear Leslie Appleton-Young or Joel Singer, they'll also have motivational speakers, real estate coaches. And if you can get down there and hear one of these, you'll really be better for it. There's a lot to be gained from these. And then, of course, the NAR Expo is called Imagine this year, and that's going to be in San Francisco. So it's a little farther, but it's still reachable. And I would encourage you, if you have an opportunity, to go and to sit in on some of the sessions and really step up your game and consider getting more active in our board and in our association. And that concludes my remarks, but let's give our panel another round of applause. Thank you.